Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 52 of the New Slang Podcast. I'm Thomas Mooney, and on this week's episode, we're joined by singer-songwriter Sam Morrow. Sam just recently released a new record called Concrete Mud. If you're into the like 70s country kind of stuff, it kind of goes from like truck driver music to Little Feat influenced country grooves, rock and roll kind of stuff. You're going to probably enjoy this record. On this episode, we really do talk a lot about the record, but we ended up talking a lot more about, and this is like one of my favorite things, is whenever you're talking to guys about their thoughts on the various things that are happening within the music scene, kind of test out some theories, if you will, or not necessarily test out, but talk about theories and their thoughts overall on why certain people have success. And I don't know, you'll just listen to it in the episode. Sam is like he just really has some really great opinions and insight on a whole lot of this stuff. Isn't afraid to share his opinion, so that's a lot of fun. And anyways, if you haven't already, liked or subscribed to the New Slang Podcast, go ahead and do so. Leave us a review and follow us on all the social media stuff. You can find me at underscore New Slang on Twitter and on Instagram, and then go on to Facebook and just search for New Slang. Give us a like, and you won't miss any new podcasts or anything like that, anything else we publish. And here's the conversation with Sam Morrow.
Am I good?
Yeah, you sound good over here.
Okay, cool.
I'm probably not going to wear these the whole time, but I always like to get a good gauge.
Yeah.
So you got this new record out, Concrete and Mud. What went into making this record? What did you set out to say with this record that you wanted to, just like a general kind of?
I've kind of just learned a lot about, the direction that I wanted to take with my music in the last 2.5 years since my last record came out. And, a lot of my old stuff was kind of sad bastard kind of stuff. And, but that's not really who I am,
Mm-hmm.
I was my first record, I was like just getting sober and you feel all weird and, trying to get all that bullshit out. But now, I'm just sort of living life and I'm happy. And, so I wanted to sort of reflect that in my music. And also I've always sort of had this background of funk, and the stuff that I listen to, like groove-based stuff and soul and rock and roll, and I kind of wanted to explore that a little bit more, and I also didn't want to just make like a country record, because everyone and their mom's doing that these days, There's definitely some country tunes on the record, and it's definitely influenced by it in a lot of places, but call it what you want, but it's not really that.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I don't really love it, but I love how like country and like Americana is just like that catch-all.
Yeah, exactly.
And, but that's how you describe people with music in 5 seconds. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
I say
it's always harder to be like, okay, well, let's just sit down and actually describe what this music is. It's going to be a half hour.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I tell people I play country music just because no one knows what the fuck Americana is, the lay person. Obviously you and I do, but most people that just listen to the radio, they don't know what that is. And then when I say country, I kind of have to explain that it's not the kind of country that you hear on the radio also, So it's not like a I don't know. I'm still trying. If you think of a good way to describe my music, please let me know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is that aspect of like the kind of like that California country kind of country rock stuff. But then on this record, there's a whole lot of the kind of like that southern version of that, like the Little Feat kind of thing. Like what kind of how did you decide to like start blending those kind of sounds, if you will, together?
I think that this record, I this is my third record, and I just kind of had experience. I finally kind of had experience in the studio. I had experience in production and like the recording process, and combine that with like I kind of stopped giving a fuck about what I don't want to say what others thought of me, but that's kind of a blanket statement. But I just wanted to make what I liked, and like just blend it all together and see what happens, And there is like, being from Texas, I do have like those southern roots of, ZZ Top, and Little Feat's actually a California band, but they sound like they're from the South, and Skynyrd is another big influence for me, and so I just wanted to like I said, I didn't want to make a country record, and but I kind of play a lot of country tunes, and then I wanted to incorporate like this funk, rock and roll, and the last song is just kind of straight up folk, kind of echoed my first record a little bit, so I just wanted this to be just like a pile of whatever I have creatively,
Right.
And luckily it all kind of mixed well together and made sense, but I wasn't really trying for it to make sense going into it, you know what I mean? There's just kind of, for some way, we ended up with sort of a consistent strain throughout the whole thing, and it just sort of worked out,
Yeah, I think like what I kind of hear throughout it is like this little bit of this warm vintage kind of sound, like this, for lack of a better term, like this little bit of a buzz. You know what I mean? It's like a warm buzz to it that I think is kind of it reminds you of a whole lot of the old records of the 70s and stuff.
Right, yeah. That's sort of what we wanted production-wise, like I spent a lot more time in the mixing process too, because that's kind of where that happens a lot of the time, we did very few overdubs on this record. We recorded like pretty much all of it live, so that helps absolutely, kind of getting that old school sort of 70s sound, but the mixing is important too, the post stuff is important for that sound too,
Yeah. Like how big of a period are these songs from? I always like to try and gauge, like, are these all kind of from like a short little rapid period, or is there some like really old songs and some?
There's not really any old ones. I'd say they're all from the past like 2.5 years since my last record. Some of them from like right after my last record came out, and one of them we wrote in the studio. Like I came in with just a lick, and I'm around a bunch of good players, and we just kind of wrote it together. So it just kind of spanned that whole 2.5 years of my life, which, the last like 2 years of my life, or I would say 2016 and the beginning of 2017 was really hectic for me, just the life stuff, which is always good for writing,
Right.
So lyrically, a lot of it came from that, I kind of changed my writing process a little bit this time around, and since the songs are like more groove based, sometimes I would just start out with a groove and write around that, when in the past I would start out with a melody and write around that, so it was a little different process, I guess, than the last couple of records.
I always like to, what I find fascinating, especially whenever you have like an artist that has like such a rich, full sound, is if they think of like that final product when they're first stepping out, like and writing that song, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or does everything kind of come from a either like a piano or acoustic guitar bass. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's strange how something that can be so sparse morph into what you know later, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this record, when writing these songs, obviously I was just writing them on an acoustic guitar, but I think that I was super sensitive and conscious to what it was going to sound like later and what I wanted it to sound like later, you know? And I could hear in my head what I wanted the band to sound like. Like, this is a band record, you know? I sat down the other day because, you know, I got some solo shows coming up, and I kind of had to like revisit the songs acoustically, you know, and kind of make them their own thing acoustically, because a lot of them don't translate exactly back to just an acoustic guitar, you know.
It's like that
that's been, like, an interesting
deconstructing process.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. Which normally for me it's the opposite, where I have to go in and like produce and, you know, come up with like band arrangements, but that's kind of where I started the songwriting process at. So it's just been kind of backwards. Everything's upside down, you know.
Yeah. You've been spending time out in LA, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where your kind of your base is now.
Yeah. I've been out there for about 7 years now.
How'd you get out there?
I just kind of needed a change of scene. As I was talking about, I got sober like 7 years ago, and I just needed to get out of Houston and Austin, you know, for a little while, and I just haven't left yet. You know, I think eventually I'll end up back in Texas, but you know, right now I got something going on out there, and you know, I've got friends out there, and I got a girl out there, so. I just haven't left yet. That's what I always tell people. You know, I mean, it's expensive as hell, and you know, most of the people I don't like. You know, but I just haven't left. You know, so it's and there's like sort of a revival of like an Americana, like California country kind of community out there. That it's kind of nice to be a part of something that's like, I don't know if grassroots is the right word to say for that, but something kind of starting out there, you know. It's kind of a cool thing, you know. I can stand out a little bit more rather than going to Nashville. I'm just some other white guy with a guitar, you know.
Another East Nashville guy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man, like I said, I haven't left yet, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always kind of been interested in what like LA life is and like what that music scene is, because so many of our favorite records were recorded out there. But like, you also really don't ever think of there being like an original sound from LA, if you will. Because everyone's just kind of a transplant, right? So you're just kind of like bringing your own sound in a way. And then it kind of morphed into something. But you really don't ever think of like, what is your typical LA band that's like from LA, other than like Red Hot Chili Peppers or I think like Metallica.
But I don't know. Even the California country thing, kind of like, I don't know if anyone fully understands like what that is. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, oh, that's country from California. You know, it's California country. I'm like, well, I mean, does it have like a specific sound, or you know? Like,
I think like there's just like that desert kind of feel to it. Or texture.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get the Birds, Flying Burrito Brothers, you know, Graham Parsons. I mean, I get the sound of all that. But I don't know. It's just another one of those sort of like blanket terms, like Americana or country. You know, it's just kind of easy to throw a label at something, I guess. But call it what you want, as long as you're buying the record. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I hear like a little bit of those like I said, those warm textures to you. So like that's why I kind of think about is like that aspect.
Right.
But then there's also like something that Graham Parsons kind of did was the like the truck driver kind of song.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you got a couple of truck driver-ish songs on here.
Yeah. Which is funny that you say that, because those songs I kind of wrote with Billy Joe Shaver in mind rather
Really?
than Graham Parsons, you know. Well, except for Skinny Elvis is kind of like, I wanted it to have, like, at least production-wise, like, sort of a Ooh Las Vegas kind of vibe. So that one I did sort of go Graham Parsons. But, like, for Good Old Days, my reference was, you know, George on a Fast Train.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to sort of have that sort of sound, you know, which I guess is a Texas country kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. It's the thing about Texas country, though, too, is, like, that's also a blanket term, because you can say,
absolutely,
like,
yeah.
Texas country and think 99% of people are going to think Pat Green, Randy Rogers.
Yeah.
But, like, you can also say Texas country and really mean more like the Billy Joe Shavers and the Guy Clarks.
Or
and
even George Strait, you
Yeah.
know, like, yeah, it's a blanket term, man. Like, those
Yeah.
guys don't really sound alike, but you can kind of put them all under that umbrella,
Right.
you know.
I always try and use Texas music to even make it even more broad.
Yeah, there you go. Just confuse people even more. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I always love when you see it on Spotify a whole lot when people are like, "Oh, check out my playlist,"
Yeah.
and they'll have it like Texas country, and it'll be everything from Randy Rogers to like Jonathan Tyler to like
Yeah.
Quaker City Nighthawks to
Which are not country at all.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just Texas
But-
Texas music would fit that better, you know? Yeah.
I know like a few things that you've talked about. You've mentioned Little Feat. I never really got into them until hearing like Quaker City Nighthawks talk about them.
Yeah.
What I guess like I'm still a novice at their music, but like, what is it about that sound that attracts you to, kind of like the?
I think the way that Lil George like structures songs is so unique. You know, like there's songs like Cold, 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 that like it's hard to even find the one of that song. You know, it's he used to. My friend, my guitar player, that he plays a lot of slide on the record, and he lives in Topanga Canyon, which is where Lowell lived, and a lot of the guys in Little Feat lived. And he said Lowell used to have this like little beat machine, and that's kind of what he would use to write to, but he would basically like switch the one with the two, and then use the two as the one. And just to sort of like turn stuff on its head, you know, and make, you know, just like American music, or, you know, American rock and roll or American country, just make it a little bit funkier, a little bit weirder, take a lot of chances, you know, which is really what I set out to do on this record, you know, like putting Wurlitzers through phaser pedals and, you know, doing weird stuff like that. So I think that's kind of what attracted me to him. And I mean, he's just got a badass voice, and he's a killer slide player, and you know, he's just got like the classic rock and roll story where he like was just a crazy motherfucker and overdosed on cocaine, you know. Which for some reason, like, I idolize those kind of people, you know. You know, I don't know, man. And just listening to their records, it just was kind of, it just hit me. I didn't really listen to them until like 5 or 6 years ago, you know. I had heard like Willin' and Dixie Chicken. But really to like dive into their records was like 5 or 6 years ago, and it just sort of hit me in a way that like I almost felt like I hadn't heard anything like that before, you know. So yeah, man. I mean, dive deep into the records, man. Yeah, I like on vinyl too.
I've got a few on vinyl. I have what's her live record called? They've got like one that's like a red one.
Yeah,
I can't remember what it's called.
I'm the worst with record names, man. I know what you're talking about, though. My favorites are like the first three. After the third, the one with Dixie Chicken on it, the production gets a little weird. I don't know. Like they're trying to go kind of 80s ish. I don't know. It gets a little too processed, you know. I like Sailing Shoes and Feet Don't Fail Me Now, you know, those are the best, man.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see when you take an artist's discography. What I find interesting, at least, is that we're at an age where we can just look at everyone's discography at one time, and not in the moment, and you think like, oh well, why was there a change? And then like trying to like find what it was in the overall music scene that made that change happen.
Sure, yeah.
And you see a whole lot of that stuff with the 80s, as far as like the
big time in the 80s, yeah.
Like early stuff being influenced by disco, and then like just the way records were being produced, and like then you see another shift at the hair metal fad. Yeah. And it's like, it's weird whenever these long established bands chase a fad, if you will.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I was just talking about that, like, with my drummer when we were driving out to Texas. Like, ZZ Top is one of my favorite bands, and like I've listened to them since day one of my life, not their life.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about how like for a while there, I mean their newer records are weird, you know. They're kind of like, they're really like pandering to like the Kid Rock bass, you know, like almost like super processed and like almost like rapping. It's bizarre, but specifically the 80s, like the Eliminator record, you know, like they start using all these synths and you know, really processed vocals and stuff like that. It's nothing like, you know, Tres Hombres or, you know, Jesus Just Left Chicago or anything like that, you know. What can't I think of the name of that? Is it Rio Grande Mud, or I can't think of
it's
the
Rio
name
Grande. Yeah, it may be Mud.
Yeah,
I think it's Mud.
I think it's Rio Grande Mud. Anyways, like once they hit Eliminator, it starts to like get a little weird with, and the songs are still great, like Legs and I can't think of it. You know,
the
what I'm
Legs is
about,
a really
though.
great example.
Legs with that sort of like pulsating synth in there. Which is, it's cool, but it chases that whole fad, you know. They're obviously sort of pandering a little bit, you know. Yeah,
there's like I'm really horrible at all like the music terms and stuff like that, as far as like the technical side. But I was watching this video on I think it was Vox, and they were talking about the gated reverb for drums being like making a comeback.
Yeah,
and like how.
That's a shame.
They used it so big in the 80s. Yeah. And like everything from Springsteen to Genesis to like Michael Jackson to like just basically every band. Yeah. And then like what they were talking about was like how basically they overused it. And so like it did not happen during like the entire 90s and rarely happened in the early 2000s. But then like you can hear it on some new stuff now. Yeah. And that's whenever you go, like any song that you go, oh, that kind of sounds 80s. It's like 99.9% going to be that gated reverb on, on the drums. And that's, I don't know, I think that's it feels like a dated sound, but it also, I kind of like it. I mean, but I don't want like every damn pop song.
It's a certain thing, you know, it's its own thing, you know. Like, I have always said, like, whenever I'm revisiting like 90s country records like Alan Jackson or George Strait or whatever, like I wish that we could just like get a hold of those masters and mix them like you would mix a song today, you know, like not like the 90s country mix that sometimes I just can't stand sometimes, you know. It just seems like so cheesy, and it has some of that, the gated reverb on the drums and like really big obnoxious snares and toms, and I feel like those songs would be so much cooler if they just got remixed and revisited, you know, because they're all great songs, you know. Yeah,
one of the songs that I think is one of those where you go, you revisit it today, and you go, that did not age well at all. Is Indian Outlaw by Tim McGraw. You're like, that is like really a racist song. Like, and like in the mid 90s as like a 8-year-old kid, you're like, this is an awesome song.
great
And then you
song.
like look back and you're going, it's pretty good. It's probably a good thing like he's not
he did
like
that a
playing
long
that right
time
now.
ago. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's one of those songs
There's
that-
tons of songs like that, man. That's more of like a content,
right.
not age well, but there's, I don't know, that 90s production just sometimes drives me insane. Sometimes I won't listen to like 90s country records just because, just like, ugh.
See,
why
I
did you
like
do
the
that,
90s country.
you know?
What bothers me more is the 80s country that kind of was like just soft rock disguised as 80s country.
Sure,
That's
yeah.
kind of like more where I
80s
go.
were definitely weird too, I don't know. I can't say that I don't like 90s country, but sometimes like I
Just
can't
some of the
listen to a
stuff.
song just because like I'm like, let me remix this for you, and then I'll just listen to it just me. I won't give it to anyone else except for me,
Yeah. See, for me, like the 80s would be like the Ronnie Millsaps.
Sure.
And
yeah.
even some of the Alabama stuff, I'm going, that's just a soft rock. That's like yacht rock right there.
Yeah. No, I get that.
And
that.
It's just one of those things where
I don't really listen to a lot of that stuff, so I don't really.
No, I know what you mean. Like,
you know.
because a lot of this is more just based off of just being a journalist and having a,
Yeah.
just listening to it,
It's
just
your
to go
job,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I want to go and like go down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
and then going like, what was wrong with it? Like,
Right.
you know. But I don't know. Some reason people do love 80s country a whole lot, and I'm like,
Hey,
it's
it's
not
each their
as
own,
good.
man. I mean,
like on the other end though, there is like some of the like Rodney Crowell stuff from the 80s that
Yeah.
does sound good.
Yeah.
And it does, you can tell that it's from the 80s, but like it sounds good.
he kind of always stayed true to
Mm-hmm.
the song. He's never been very like frou-frou or like a lot of like post tricks or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's just kind of been a songwriter that like the song serves the song. I mean, he's one of the best. you know?
Yeah. We're talking about the whole chasing fad kind of thing. Something that's interesting too is if you look at like the greats, like the Willie Nelsons or like the Johnny Cashes, sometimes they even chase those fads.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean, Willie Nelson did a song with Snoop Dogg.
exactly.
And his newer stuff, I shouldn't be like talking shit about Willie Nelson on a podcast. I'm not talking shit about him, but he's old now, so like he can't really sing in key as well. Like his guitar playing is kind of, he has trouble staying in rhythm and stuff. So a lot of his new records, like you can tell, it sounds like T-Pain on some of them,
Mm-hmm.
with all the auto tune and stuff, But I mean, I love the shit out of Willie, but I don't know if that's probably a little off topic. He's not really chasing a fad there. He's just trying to fix.
Yeah. Well, what
know.
I'm talking about is like where he had like the reggae record.
Oh yeah.
And then like he did have like, he's had a couple of one-offs where it's like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I don't know who's.
Well, he's also Willie Nelson. He's kind of like,
of
look, I'll
course.
do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
If I want to make a reggae song, I'll make a reggae song, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Another dude who kind of, I would never, I don't know, maybe saying chasing the fad's wrong, maybe like being lost in their careers would be
Sure,
better, is like Waylon Jennings in the 80s, also kind of like he's after the
Yeah.
outlaw thing, and it's like you can't be an outlaw for fucking ever,
Right,
and
yeah.
like what does an outlaw even mean,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, and kind of just not knowing what to do. I think like Merle Haggard had a little bit of that, but what's interesting is seeing some of those guys make it past that point,
Yeah.
and then make like the old man record,
Yeah.
and like actually have something to say at old age.
Yeah.
Or like, and of course, like probably the best of that is like just the American recording stuff by
Yeah.
Cash.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
absolutely, man. I mean, I think everyone goes through their phases. Like, if you don't go through phases, you're not like listening to yourself creatively.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't really sit here and like judge their intentions. I
Right.
mean, we can. That's what we're doing. But I guess we don't really know what was exactly going through their head. But I mean, that's a fair guess. You
Yeah.
know, they kind of reached a point where the whole outlaw thing was just it's kind of come back now, the whole outlaw thing. Like, I've even been called an outlaw by Rolling Stone called me an outlaw the other day. Like, I was like, what does that even mean? Like, you know, I don't. Can you just call people that now? Like, does that just mean that they don't play me on country radio? Like, you know, they play me on an outlaw country and not country radio. Like, is that what that means? You know,
I think a lot of times that's what it is, but it's like, I don't know. Like, I like to believe it's more that you went to Nashville and like went to like the big executives and just give them a middle finger and then walked out, and they were like,
I had a dream about that once, but I didn't do it for real. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Like, I definitely kind of I'm definitely not the like pretty boy type, and I definitely have like sort of a battered past and stuff, you know. So maybe that's why, or maybe it doesn't go as deep as that, you know. Maybe it's just a way for press to be press, you know.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, like the revival, if you will, is just be out of the Sturgill stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
Stapleton, Sturgill, Isbell, but I wouldn't ever really. You don't really characterize those guys as like
they're
being outlaws.
Yeah, they're two guys with kids and families, and you know, just kind of. But they, not less Stapleton, but I mean, Sturgill's definitely giving the middle finger to the industry, country establishment and that. But Stapleton's kind of embraced it, you know. He's kind of like bridging the gap a little bit, you know. And he's not really one to. I mean, I listened to him on Joe Rogan's podcast, like. I don't know, a couple months ago or something like that, and he's a guy that just kind of toes the line, you know, like he's not going to say something that's going to get him in trouble,
right?
You know, he's really conscious of what he says, you know, because he knows his base, you know, he knows that his base is like people like me, who doesn't give a fuck, but more importantly, you know, country radio folks that give ultimate fucks. You know, so he's got to be careful with what he says. You know,
right?
He's smart. I mean, he's like protecting his career, but he's not an outlaw though, dude.
What I love about that is like when he burst onto the scene as a solo artist.
Yeah,
it was like the background of, hey, this guy's been in all these bands. He's written a whole lot of #1 hits. He's gotten over 100 cuts on. By Nashville acts, yada yada yada, and then like people listen to him and they're like, "Holy fuck, this is what country music needs." Not any of that shit by, and then like just
Luke Bryan's written most of that shit,
and then it's like, oh, he actually wrote like a lot of those songs you're like citing as being shitty songs,
right? But I also like, part of me thinks that he's such a good writer that he can just sort of like. Write about anything.
Exactly.
You know
I think that's
I mean, like
part of it.
He probably was like, "Oh, I'm gonna write a song that's gonna make a bunch of money today," and he wrote that like a Luke Bryan song, or what was it, like "Grab This Beer" or something like that, or
I don't
know. I saw like I think it was Wide Open Country did like a video the other day of like songs you didn't know Chris Stapleton wrote, which I kind of did know, but I guess the lay person doesn't know. But yeah, it was, you know. All those country radio dudes, you know.
I think part of that too is is just production.
Yeah.
And I think really deep down, like 90% of the people don't know the difference between like an okay lyric or an average lyric and a really fucking great lyric.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just kind of like everything. You can point out the bad lyrics easily, but you can't point out just the average stuff.
Sure.
You can't differentiate that between really good stuff, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that makes sense totally.
And I think that's a big part of it. It's just the with country music being so rooted in tradition, it's easy to point out, well, that doesn't sound anything like my grandparents listened to. It didn't sound like anything like my parents listened to. So it's not country. But then it's a lot harder to differentiate the songs.
Right.
So if Stapleton did just record all those songs himself, they would be calling them fucking amazing songs. Probably.
Right, yeah.
But
another thing that people don't talk about Stapleton as much is like most of his songs are like soul. blues, you know, like he's got like a twang to him for sure. Like it's like Sturgill. Like Sturgill's last record was not a country record.
Yeah.
But anytime he sings, it's gonna sound like a country tune because he's got that like serious like twang mumbles, you know, yell kind of thing going on, you know.
Right.
So but I think that's people kind of glaze over that, you know, because they want to just pigeonhole them and call them what they want to call them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think? What did you think about Sturgill's last record? What did you think of it? Just as since it's such a, it's more of a statement than
Sure.
9 statements.
Yeah. No, I think that I think it's awesome. First of all. I mean, I'm kind of a diehard Sturgill fan. I don't know if diehard is the right word, but I love all of his records. You know, I love the first one that's just kind of straight up country. Second one gets a little weird, and third one is not country. It's kind of more like it sounds like a Stax record. You know, like a Elvis Stax, something like that. But yeah, I think that like seeing him do that was kind of also influenced this record for me, you know. I'm like, oh well, you know, he just made a record that wasn't country, but everyone's calling it country, and he just kind of did what he wanted, you know. He produced it himself, and just kind of gave the middle finger to the establishment and some of his fans, you know what I mean. I thought it was great, man. I wanted to use horns on this record, but I specifically didn't because Sturgill has so many horns. I didn't want to like be compared to his last record, you know.
Yeah. I have this theory about like the 3 guys, like the Isbell, Stapleton, and Sturgill. I think I'll give you the little version of it. I think they're really, really great, right? If you had to say, they're probably like the top 3 guys in the industry right now. And you're not really going to find someone who really hates them. But I think that like also they're really good at like the 3 phases of music, if you will. But if you boiled it down, you could like pinpoint what they're really good at specifically, what gravitates people. And I would say what like Isbell does really well is he's just the best songwriter out of the 3.
Yeah, lyrics. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
And then I would say that Stapleton has like the best voice. He's able to like get the best emotion in the voice.
Right. Yeah.
And then I think that like Sturgill, his big thing is more of a concept.
Right.
He's able to like relay that concept better than the other 2.
Sure.
And like get that emotional aspect into that concept.
Right.
And so I think like what's going to end up happening is that
we're going to morph them all into one super artist.
Well, I think what's going to happen is like the fans are going to stay longer with Stapleton just because it's easier to replicate.
Right.
And it's much, much more difficult to replicate like ideas and concepts.
Sure.
And it's a lot harder, I think. So like I think Sturgill's records, you're gonna see like fans break off and go like, you saw it like between the last 2 records. It's
right.
Like,
Yeah.
well, I don't like this record because it's nothing like the last record.
Yeah.
And I think there's like it's just one of those things where at the end of the day you may like think of it as a better artist as a but you're gonna see people kind of like go, I can't listen to that because I don't like it or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? That
well,
makes sense.
one strength of Stapleton is like, of course, his voice, but another thing that makes him is going to give him that longevity and makes him so unique is just his ability to find a melody, like find a catchy fucking melody. You know, like that first record, every song can get stuck in your head. You know, Sturgill, I think he said multiple times that he's only going to make like, what did he say, like 5 records or something like that, 4 records.
I don't know if I believe that.
I don't know if he actually will, but that kind of makes me think that maybe he thinks he has a shelf life, you know, and he doesn't want to, you know, overuse that or something like that. Which I don't know. He may only make 5 records and then get into producing. Who knows? I mean, we can sit here and speculate all day. I mean, he did a good job on his record and Tyler Childers' record. And then Isbell, I mean, everything I've read about him is like he's so disciplined in his songwriting. Like he's one of those guys that like wakes up every day, pours a cup of coffee, and writes. Which is not me at all. I mean, I wish it was, but I'm not that disciplined at anything. But yeah, I totally subscribe to your theory that, like, I kind of feel like Isbell has lost fans, like, even since Southeastern. You know what I mean?
I do too.
Like, because I mean, Southeastern kicked everyone's ass, and yeah, I mean, I can't say I like both of the newer records, but I don't think he'll ever write a record that's as good as Southeastern. I hope he does.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think Southeastern just it came at a right time. It came, like he did capture a region, if you will, in 12 songs, and like didn't really skip over anything, and it just the songwriting was just perfect. And
there's some songs like that sort of nod to Southeastern, like Speed Trap Town. I think that was on his.
That was on the Something More Than Free.
Yeah, Something More Than Free. Yeah, that song sounded like a Southeastern cut, and I mean that song just made me think of like Texas, man, or like small town Texas,
right.
Like going to a football game, reminded me like Giddings, Texas, like the town like right before you get to Austin that they changed the speed limit from 75 to 30.
Yeah,
and they just make all of their city income on giving people going into Austin tickets,
Right.
But I think he like captured that even like sonically in that song. So that's my favorite stuff that he does.
That song right there is, it's one of those songs where you have to listen to it 10 times to really get what he's talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And really, because I feel like that is just as much of a gut punch, if you will, as like Elephant or.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
If We Were Vampires, like there's a real at the heart of that song, it's fucking sad as hell,
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's one of his a great example of him writing something that is more rewarding the more you listen to it.
Sure.
And I'm not sure if he's even like aware of that kind of like writing, or you know what I mean. Like if you set out to write something that's a little bit more harder to understand the first time listening to it, you know.
Yeah, all of his stuff is just more intellectual than Stapleton stuff. Like Stapleton stuff is more. It's just more accessible. Like you can listen to it once and know what it's about, and which is why he's selling out like pavilions and stadiums and shit like that now. And with a 3-piece band at that, just making it sound huge with a 3-piece band, that really blows my mind too. People sort of graze over how good of a guitar player he is too. He's just very tasteful and doesn't get too fancy.
I think all three of them have like
all three of them
underrated.
are great guitar players. And Sturgill now just plays with like a 4-piece, and I saw him like maybe 8 months ago, and I was a little skeptical at first, but it sounded really good. It was different, from going from. I never saw him with like the whole horn section and stuff like that, but I can imagine it was a drastic change,
Yeah. Yeah. You're wearing a Culture Wall hat. What do you think of Culture? Or at least that first record.
I think he's like maybe the best songwriter out there right now. I'll take that back. I think he's the best storyteller songwriter out there right now. And and that he's only 22 is just absurd.
That's the part that gets me.
Yeah, I mean, it blows my mind. You know, I didn't even know English that well when I was 22, you know, much less like writing these like classic country and folk songs that nod to murder ballads or Arlo Guthrie. And then I was also skeptical of his voice at first. When I first heard it, I was like, that's not how his voice sounds. He's putting that on. But no, man, that's you hear him talk. That's how he talks. You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean, because like whenever I first heard him, I went on YouTube and like searched for interviews to catch a glimpse of like how he talked, and it was like, okay, that's not just like a
pretty much exactly how he sings. You know, yeah, man. And I got to see him live, and he's the real deal, man. You know. Yeah, and there's not really anyone quite doing what he's doing right now either, you know, because he's just as good solo as he is with a band, and he's 22, man. That's I can't believe that. You know?
Yeah, I think it's also really hard to like capture that for a record.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
well, I think if anyone can do it, like, I think Dave Cobb, that's like his wheelhouse, man. Like just that organic, like capture the song as it is. That's what he does, you know? So for him, I can't think of a better producer. You know?
I just think like sometimes it can be hard to get that raw emotion out of it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
As far as like, I think it's easy, or it's easier probably if you're up there by yourself, acoustic, to relay that emotion, get that emotion out.
Yeah.
Because there's a crowd there. You know what I mean? And that's one of those things I've always wondered about is like, how do you dig deep when it's just you, the producer, a couple engineers, and a few people in the studio? You know what I mean? Like, how do you get to that place?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I even read that I don't know which song it was off his first record, but one of them they just recorded outside. You know, Dave Cobb was like, I think this one just needs to be done outdoors. And I would have to find like which one it was, but I forget kind of what we were exactly talking about.
I know.
But,
just like
I mean, he's great, man. He's
catching that emotion.
Yeah, catching that emotion. I mean, it's definitely tough to do in the studio, like just speaking from a personal perspective. Especially for these songs, like my last two records were like sort of vulnerable, you know, kind of put me in a, like I wrote them pretty much all myself, and like in the dark with the candle lit, you know, like, so it's a little easier to tap into those like personal experience. But this record is more of like funky and fun, and it's just a kind of a different mood you have to get in, you know.
Right.
You know, you kind of have to get into like more of like a rock and roll mood rather than, you know, this sad whatever, you know.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask is like, is it easier to get up or get down? You know what I mean? As far as like trying to build the energy or like trying to tone it down, you know?
I don't know, man.
Is it just
it's hard to say what's
the same
easier.
thing, but like just different?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's a good question. I really don't know. Never really thought about that. I just kind of let the song.
Right.
Like, I like my headphones to be really loud when I'm recording vocals, so I just kind of get a little bit lost, you know. You know, whether it's down or up, you know. I don't know. It's just different. I think it's just different, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Jamie Wyatt's on a lot of this new record here.
Yeah.
I guess she's come through town a few times.
Yeah.
She's also an outlaw country artist.
Yeah. Well, she has the
I
prison
know,
thing
that's what I was
going
gonna
for
say,
her,
though,
man.
she's got the
Yeah.
felony blues.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
She's got the prison thing going for her. But yeah, man. I mean, we're really like-minded. You know, she's kind of like a sister to me. You know, we've done a bunch of tours together, and you know, just the kind of way we look at music is similar. But yeah, she has. If anyone's outlaw, she's outlaw. You know,
Right.
She's legit outlaw. You know. I haven't done real time, so I guess I can't really speak on that, but she can. You know.
Yeah. I guess like she was on like 3 songs, right? 3 or 4 songs. Did you guys write anything together?
No. She does like pretty much backgrounds on Paid by the Mile and San Fernando Sunshine, and Skinny Elvis is like sort of pretty much a duet, you know. And initially we didn't really write it that way, but once we kind of recorded it in the studio and heard what it sounded like, you know, Ooh Las Vegas came to mind, and then naturally we were like, oh, we need to get a girl to double this, and Jamie was my first call. So, yeah, man, I mean, we've sang a lot together, and, you know, we kind of familiar with each other's inflections and stuff like that. So it was pretty seamless, you know, seamless. And it was fun, too. And that song turned out pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, pretty cool.
The Elvis thing, obviously, Skinny Elvis. Casey Musgraves just had Velvet Elvis.
Oh,
out.
did she?
She on a record, her last record, and then like one of my buddies, Daniel Markham, has a new record coming out with a song called Velvet Elvis that he wrote like years ago.
Really?
And I was like,
wow,
all these damn Elvises
making a
just
comeback,
like popping
man.
out.
Yeah, all these different Elvises.
Exactly. That's another guy with like 100 versions of himself.
I want to make like a Stax Elvis song next time, and yeah.
I remember there being, I don't know why I thought about this, but I remember this had to be like mid-90s SNL. There was like a SNL skit where they were like selling remember how like they used to sell records on TV?
Oh,
like
yeah,
an infomercial
yeah.
for a record. They'd be like the classic country hits of the back in the day, or it'd be like get the greatest hits of whoever. And I think this was like built around the premise of like a Christmas record, but they had like where blah blah singing blah blah, or I'm gonna give just blank examples first. And then they would pop up in the background and kind of like do their version of that song.
Yeah.
And because they would do those
and
on
this
those
is
infomercials.
Conway Twitty.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And like there was this one, it may have been like set up as a duet record. I'll have to go find it. But what I remember is there being like Skinny Elvis and like Rob Schneider.
Oh,
like
really?
dressed up like as Elvis and like singing something, and then like him fading away, and then they're like, and blah blah sings blah blah with Fat Elvis, and John Goodman being dressed up like Elvis, and like singing another song, and it was I don't know, it was just like funny, and like I said, I'm gonna have to find that. I don't know why I thought of that.
Yeah, we got it from my producer. Actually, pretty much wrote this whole song. But we have this mutual friend that he's just like this really, he's like from North Carolina. I can't remember if it's North or South Carolina, but if I get it wrong, he'll be mad at me. I think it's North Carolina. But he's just like this really cool, he's an artist too, his name's Cale Baxley. He's just like this really cool, and the way he talks is like, you know, they got this cool accent, and just a smooth motherfucker. And we heard him refer to something as being cool as like, he was like, man, that's Skinny Elvis all day long. And just like being like, oh, that's badass, you know? And so Eric was like, you know, I have to use that in a song, man. So that's where the whole idea came from, you know?
Yeah.
So hopefully people start using Skinny Elvis all day long as like a term for badass. That's my real purpose with this whole record.
I always love finding the like whenever you hear an idiom that you think has been around for fucking ever, and then you're like, how has that not been around forever? And then like, and then it's like, oh, it's just right then. And like that Skinny Elvis is one, on Turnpike's, not their last record, but the record before, they had a, everyone wants to be Hank Williams, but they don't want to have to die, which is like, you know, about like hard work. And I was like, has this not fucking been said 100 times?
Yeah.
But
yeah, there's a lot of that stuff out there, man.
One of yours that you kind of talk about in, it's not really an idiom, but it's like the whole being paid by the mile thing.
Oh, sure.
And being paid by the song. And I think that's pretty funny too, because it kind of relates to that truck driver thing.
Sure, yeah.
Being paid by the mile.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like a really relatable tune for anybody, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another one that I co-wrote with this guy Ted Russell Camp, who he's a bass player, plays for like Shooter and everybody. He's like everybody in LA, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing I did for this record that I hadn't really done was like do a bunch of co-writes. Just kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit, and it was definitely productive, you know. But yeah, we just wanted to kind of, I knew I wanted to sort of write like a country disco kind of track, you know, Don Williams kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we came up with, man, you know. And we kind of wanted to give like a nod to the common man, I guess, you know what I mean? So yeah.
On these co-writes, is it something where it's, you know, you kind of like scheduled out time, or is it more just like a organic kind of?
No, these I actually went over to his house, and you know, we both kind of came to each other with, you know, came to the session with some ideas and kind of whittled it down. And he co-wrote Heartbreak Man with me too. And, you know, he's been playing music for a lot longer than I have, and kind of, you know, I've got some ideas that maybe he wouldn't think of. He's got some ideas that I wouldn't think of, and, you know, it was cool, man. Like it was a good experience, and you know, he played bass on the whole record too, so he kind of knew my mindset going into it and kind of what I wanted to do, and so yeah, it was kind of good to have him there for the length of the process, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it easier to like relay what you wanted those songs to sound like once you guys got into the studio? You know what I mean? As far as like
I think
building it up with.
Yeah, because I think I kind of like already had the references for the tunes, and you know, kind of already knew what I wanted to put on it, and you know, we had even discussed like during the co-write kind of what we wanted it to sound like a little bit, and you know, we've worked together enough to kind of have a language developed. Same with my producer, the same thing. Like, It's the third record I've done with him, so yeah, we sort of have that language now that, you know, we can just sort of know what the other one's thinking, and also at the same time, you know, we have no problem telling each other like, no, that sucks, you know, which I think is such an important thing for the whole creative process, is being able to tell whoever you're working with that that's just not a good idea, you know, or that doesn't sound good, you know. Yeah. Otherwise, if there's not that like honesty, you're kind of fucked, you know. Right.
That's what with the music business especially, I feel it's such a it can be such a like good old boy kind of thing, like everyone patting everyone on the back, and like there's it's kind of like at times turns into that, versus like, you know what, like, no, that is a bad idea, like let's not do that. And it's obviously whenever you're able to be honest enough with somebody to tell them that's not good, that's what makes good art.
Yeah, sure, man. I mean, because not everything I think of is good or cool. I mean, most of it is not good or cool. So I need someone to tell me, like, because otherwise I'm going to be sitting on it for like 3 months or longer, and then I'll figure out that it sucks, you know, rather than having someone like right in front of me tell me like, no, let's move on. Or, you know, say it in a nice way, you know.
Yeah. What I always wonder is, because I relate it to the way I would do records. I'd be like, okay, I've got this song idea, and then I'd probably have like 3 examples of songs that I kind of was wanting it to sound like. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like in the way that you're talking about with the Ooh Las Vegas kind of feel, right?
Yeah.
How often does that happen for you? Like, as far as like you writing a song, and then you're like using examples of other stuff to relay what you're talking about, or is there just a more?
I mean, pretty much every song, you know, like Paid by the Mile, I reference like Tulsa Time, you know.
Yeah.
I shouldn't probably be giving away all my secrets here. For Quick Fix, we sort of reference like Cold, 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 Little Feet. And even to go a little further, like I have references for recording, and then I also have references for mixing. You know, like I want the groove and the feel to be similar to this, but then, you know, once we have all that recorded, then like, but I want the mix to sound like this. Yeah. You know, or I want the drums to sound like this. You know, because I'm not a mixing engineer, so I can't be like, oh well, you know, do this, put some highs there, or what, you know, whatever. You know, I can do a little bit of that, but it's better if I'm just like make it sound close to that. You know.
Yeah. Because I feel like I've asked a few people that, and they were like, no, not really. And I feel like that would probably be the easiest way to relay what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because, like, I don't know, that's not cool to do or something. You know what I mean? Like, well, I'm cooler to be like, I thought of all this by myself. Kind of thing.
Yeah, they probably, most of the time they probably just. I have no problem, you know, like admitting my influences and, you know, there's like an old quote like, "Great artists steal," or you know, something along those lines. You know. Not to say that I'm just stealing stuff from everybody, but like everything's been done, you know, like I'm not doing anything new right now, you know. I might be like melding some stuff that's a little bit new or whatever, but it's pretty much all been done by now, you know. So you know, anything I do is probably something that I've heard, you know, and then, you know, I'll push the envelope a little bit. Like I've never heard a phaser pedal on a Wurlitzer, you know, so that's something we just tried out and it sounded cool, you know. But yeah, as far as like just referencing songs and stuff like that, I don't see how that's not healthy, you know. But I can see how it's hard for an artist to admit that. Yeah,
because I don't know. I feel like that's what I would do, basically.
Yeah.
Or like, I always thought like, I'm gonna make this record. I want it to sound like blank, blank, and blank, right? Like 3 records, and kind of like figure it out along the way as far as how it sounds in the studio. But I don't know.
That's the best way to me, man. I don't know how everyone else does it, but that's how I do it.
But we've been rolling about an hour here.
Cool, man. Yeah, it's been fun.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Sure.